How's it going, guys? It's Marcel here. Here I'm with a new recap video about today's New York session where I executed 3 positions. All of the positions ended up in a break even. So let me just break everything down using the bar replay and some of the markups that I sent you today. So first of all, here on EUR USD, we were looking for a buy because price has swept huge amount of liquidity from below these double bottoms, or it was even a triple bottom. I don't really recall it, but there was a nice amount of liquidity that has been swept by this movement. After a sweep, price has aggressively changed the character to the upside with a really strong V-shaped rejection. That you can see that price is coming down, swept some liquidity, swept all of the liquidity, then it immediately reversed with the V-shape. It changed the character, first with a wick, then it created a small pullback, then it also body broke above the last recent swing high point. So yeah, this zone that has been created here was already taken out before the session opened, but let me just say a few words about this area. You know that this area was a middle of nowhere reversal because there was no demand mitigation at this point, meaning this will be a simple liquidity for the pullback to the extreme zone that is located here. So before the session open, this zone has been already taken out, and the zone, the 15-minute extreme region, has been already mitigated. And that's why the trade idea came into place, that I was waiting for the sweep into the deep region. I was waiting for a change of character to the upside, and then a long target, a long position targeting this supply up here. The reason I wanted to target this supply is because this was the swing supply, real swing high point, real swing supply that basically changed the character on the swing low point. So if I map the structure out, let me just switch to the real chart and you will understand it better. So if I map the structure out, you will see that we had several low points, high points, and basically this was the last recent swing low point, and this was the last recent swing high point, right? This low point changed the character, for example, here and here on several places. Then after a character change to the downside, it created liquidity. Then it changed back the character to the upside and started this really nice bullish order flow movement. That's why we call it as a swing low point. This was a swing high point because, this is just a simple high point after the low point creation. This was the retracement point, and it will still remain as a last recent high point, last recent swing high point until the low point breaks. So in a technical meaning, this low point was broken with body closure to here, but I only counted it as a liquidity sweep, right? Because basically price swept the liquidity and then aggressively reversed to the upside, changing character here. But going back to the markup, the reason I call this supply as the swing high supply is because, this was the swing high that I just showed you, and this whole downside movement that has basically caused the change of character here and basically caused the break of the swing low point has been started from this supply. And basically that's the reason why I was targeting this supply with my longs. Yeah, it was a pretty nice target point. It was a pretty valuable and valid target point. After this supply, I was actually expecting short reversals into deeper demands because, GBP USD was extremely bearish, but EUR USD had a chance to give a pullback before the nice retracement to the downside. Okay, so that was the first plan. Let me just switch to the live chart on the 1 minute chart time frame, and let's use the replay tool. So this was the last candle before the New York session kill zone open. After this point, you know the plan. We were waiting for the sweep into the deep region, change of character, and longs all the way up to this supply. There was lots of liquidity to take and target. This was the first double taps. There was this whole liquidity trend line. So yeah, this was the first original plan, but the plan has changed in the session. Not completely changed, but I was seeking something else because I saw a rejection and a really nice reaction here. This was the original plan, right? So this was the original plan where we were expecting a deep mitigation and change of character to the upside. But this hasn't happened, and another plan has been formed. That's when I sent you a markup update. This was the markup update I sent you exactly at this time when what you can see on my screen. So that was the time when I sent you this markup update that I saw that price heavily rejected and reacted on something here after sweeping out liquidity here. So this rejection was basically on the last recent 5-minute supply that was located here, and there was really nice amount of liquidity below it also. Let me just change the color. So there was really nice amount of liquidity below this region in the form of double taps right here, and this double taps has been swept into it. Then it created this little sell trap with liquidity here. You can see it was a really nice liquidity trend line on a 1 minute time frame. A push away from this high point, coming back, push away, really nice push away, coming back, push away. So basically there was liquidity stored in this line, and this wick has just swept out the liquidity. First of all, when I monitor this movement in lifetime, I was planning to enter here. I was actually planning to enter here on this order block, on this 1 minute order block, but there was one red flag about this order block, that this high right here just barely didn't broke the high point here. So meaning it wasn't a break of structure. If this high point, I mean, if this body would have been like 0.1 pip above the current point, so somewhere around here, then it could have been counted as a break of structure to the upside, but it wasn't a break. So yeah, if it would have been a break of structure, then this low change would have been a change of character to the downside, and this would have been an order block which we could use as an entry point to the downside. But unfortunately, this wasn't an entry point because it didn't break the high point. Yeah, I will test these scenarios out because these are happening more oftenly nowadays. When price flips liquidity, do not close above the liquidity with a body, but just changes the character to the downside and continues. So yeah, I will test these out, and maybe I will implement them into the trading plan. So stay tuned about it. I will update you guys as always. So yeah, after this basically price change character here on the low point, on the 1 minute swing low point. So the real change of character movement came into place. And yeah, this left us with a new entry opportunity on this candle, because this is the candle that has basically started this really nice volume to the downside. And that's when I sent you this markup update, right? So I just pointed it out that I'm waiting for a reaction, or at least entry point here on this supply, targeting the deep region of this demand, targeting the liquidity that has been created in the meanwhile here. Perfect liquidity has been created, perfect triple touch liquidity trend line. So yeah, I was waiting for the sweep of this liquidity after the short entry, and then a change of character, the usual plan that I forecasted here, the usual plan. The only thing that has changed here is that I was waiting for a short entry too, and not just a long down here. So basically, I did set a limit order on the 50% of this candle. Let me just mark it out. So I did set a limit order on the 50% of this candle, setting a limit here exactly. I used the 2 pip stop loss, and I was targeting the 50%. Let me just quickly set everything up. I was targeting the 50% here for 1 to almost 7 risk reward ratio, 1 to 6.4 risk reward ratio. So this was the original plan. Unfortunately, price rejected and reacted on the bottom of the region, but that was a no-go zone for me because I and you couldn't set a limit order here on the full body, because then you would have used the 3 pip stop loss, and it wouldn't have given you the at least 5 risk reward ratio, so you couldn't use this as your entry POI. You know, we have a rule that the trade has to be at least 5 risk reward ratio. If it's not 5 risk reward ratio, then you are not entering in a trade and you're not setting a limit order. So yeah, unfortunately, it didn't tag me, but it formed another setup. At this point, I deleted this order. I deleted it from my chart. I'm just keeping it here because I replace later. And the reason I replace it later will be shown here is because price, swept out this liquidity line, right here with this movement. But on the other hand, it formed another liquidity. So there was another liquidity line in the form of double bottoms. And it was a perfect, huge amount of liquidity because price was pushing down. At this bottom, it pushed away really nicely with a nice volume movement, came back down to this low point, and again, it pushed away with a really nice volume movement. So this is a really, really strong and valuable double bottom liquidity. After this one, price just formed double taps inside of this zone. So here was double taps inside of this zone. The second tap was slightly above the first tap, right? But it was still double taps. We can't really count this as a sweep because it was like 0.2 pip above it, yeah, 0.3 pip above the previous high point. But on the other hand, you could also count this as a change of character, right? My monitor wants to turn off. Wait, let me just quickly do not turn it off. Okay, so you could also count this as a change of character because basically the liquidity sweep has happened here. Liquidity sweep has happened and the deeper region mitigation has happened also. And then after this, price aggressively changed character to the upside here. That's where the long idea came into place for me. And that's where this idea came into place. So basically this plan down here worked out also. Why? Because price mitigated the deeper region, swept out this liquidity, and then changed the character to the upside. That's it. Basically, that's it. For me, the character changing movement